Good evening, my name is Arlene Herson. The name of the show is Getting to Know You, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Tonight we're going to get to know a woman whose motto could be laugh and the world laughs with you. She has the uncanny ability to laugh at herself and her audiences raw with approval. However, she has never really needed anyone's approval. She has established her own hilarious brand of humor on her own television series, concert stages, and comedy appearances throughout the world. Outrageously talented, she is also a classically trained pianist and best-selling author. Instantly recognized for her kooky and wild fashions, her contagious laugh is a comedy hallmark. She is Phyllis Diller, and let's get to know her. Welcome. I'm delighted that you can be on my show.
Well, it's a big thrill.
But actually, you know, as I was saying in the introduction, you really are a phenomenon. The more I read about you, actually, the more impressed I become, because you're not just an extremely talented comedian. As I mentioned, you're a writer, author, you're a gifted pianist, gourmet cook, I understand, mother, actress, successful, wealthy. But I know it wasn't easy getting there. The career that has made you famous, actually, you didn't start until you were 37 years old. I'd like to take you back a little bit to where you were born. You were from Ohio.
Yes.
An only child.
Yes.
Was that a negative or a positive?
I think it's a positive.
Why is it a positive?
Well, you get all the love, all the attention, and all the money when they go.
Okay, I'm an only child also.
Isn't it heaven?
So yes, there were no sibling rivalries. Were you outgoing as a child?
No, I was extremely shy, painfully shy.
Really?
Yes.
Well, how did you get around that?
Well, I think when you decide, when you find out what's wrong with you as a person and you start to correct it, you compensate in other ways. I think I compensated for shyness by being funny, by covering my shyness, by doing things that were funny.
Well, so much of your humor really is making fun of yourself.
True.
Did that start way back then in Ohio?
I was recently with an old friend of mine who went all the way through high school with me, and she claims that I'd forgotten, of course. I used to imitate all the teachers and do their walks and do crazy things about them, obviously putting them down. You have to get back at them somehow.
Well, what kind of grades did you get? Did they get back at you?
No, I made very good grades because I was a very serious student. I'm very serious about what I do. Things, if they're worth doing, I believe they're worth doing right. So I made mostly A's.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, and then you went on, actually, as I understand, you didn't go on just to college. You went on to a music conservatory, that your talent first was not taking you in the direction of comedy, was taking you in the direction of music.
True, but if you'll notice, most comics are musicians. It's amazing how it has something to do. There's some correlation there, I'm positive.
Really?
Yes, when you think about Maury Amsterdam and his cello, and Henny Youngman the violin, Jack Benny violin, Johnny Carson drums, Charlie Callis drums, Phil Silvers clarinet, Sid Caesar saxophone, Imogene Coca trombone, and think of all the pianists, Victor Borga, Jimmy Durante played the piano, and Steve Allen plays the piano. It's something about hearing and listening. The ear is terribly important to be funny.
Yeah. Oh, okay, but you started as a pianist when you say all these...
I never got to be a pianist, actually. I studied very hard, 20 years, devoted a lot of time to it, without realizing that I was terribly limited in that particular area.
Okay, you left the conservatory and went to college.
Yes, because I dropped it like a hotcake.
Okay, well, you still play. As a matter of fact, I hear you touring.
Well, no, for 10 years I soloed with symphony orchestras from 71 to 81. And I got my, what I'd put in, I certainly got back because the 10 years that I did play with symphonies was simply the icing on the cake. It was so much fun.
Now, did Phyllis Diller, playing with symphony orchestra, play serious?
The piano part was serious and the singing was serious. It was when I got up and talked that it was funny. So I gave them everything they wanted. I gave them a lot of comedy, but then the music was serious and quite pretty.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, when we mentioned that you left the conservatory, you went to college. I
Yes.
hear it was in college that you met your husband, your
Yes.
first husband.
True.
Is it true also that you eloped?
True.
Why?
Because no one in either family approved of the marriage.
Were they right?
They were right.
They were right, but you were married a long time.
25 years.
Okay, and there wasn't a lot of money in the beginning. It was tough struggling. You were in your early 20s.
Yes.
What was that like?
Well, it was a lot of fun. You learn about life. You see, I had a sort of a Mademoiselle magazine idea of marriage. I mean, I didn't know about greasy sinks and diapers. but I learned in a hurry. I did want a lot of children, and I meant to do that. That was one of my goals. And but then I realized it was pure drudgery and a lot of work. But I put my shoulder to the wheel and did it.
Okay, and you did have a lot of children. You had 5 children.
Yes, and that's really one of the
yeah.
great payoffs of my life.
Right. Okay, I want to talk about how that happened, about how you became from a housewife to the world famous Phyllis Diller. But we're going to take a commercial break right now. When we come back, we're going to talk some more. We're here at Resorts International Casino Hotel in Atlantic City, and we'll be right back with my special guest, Phyllis Diller, so please stay right there. We're back with my very special guest, Phyllis Diller. We're here at Resorts International Casino Hotel in Atlantic City, where you are performing, but actually in the days before you were performing, before Phyllis Diller was a star. We were talking about you getting married at a very young age.
No, 22.
Well, 22, I think that's very young. I don't think
Well, it wasn't then.
Oh, okay.
See
You're
that?
right.
That's
You're
a
right.
long time ago.
Okay, true. But for 10 years, for more than 10 years, because we had mentioned you really didn't start your career until you were like 37.
Yes.
But for a long time, you were just a housewife.
15 years.
Yeah. Was that tough? Did you like that?
Oh, no, I loved it.
You did?
Yes.
Okay. But I hear there was a lot of time where they were struggling and you had to go to work, I hear,
Well,
to
yes,
help
when
support
my
the family.
inheritance ran out, then I had to go to work. My husband just didn't do very well. Then 5 children's a lot. That's a lot of people to feed. And there was a dog and a cat.
Right, and they eat a lot. Yeah, your inheritance, you had inherited money from your family?
Yes.
That helped
and
you.
that, and that we just lived that up. That was a mistake.
Yeah, right.
And then something had to give. But actually, as I look back, it all worked for the good for me, because otherwise I would have just been the funniest woman on my block
That's right.
if I hadn't had to get out and
yeah.
learn about the world.
True. Okay, but when you did go to work, it was as a writer.
Yeah, true.
And after not working for 15 years, after never having worked, actually.
No, I hadn't ever worked.
Was that difficult, going out to get a job?
No, because I know how to do it. You see, I understand other people, and I am objective. Most people are terribly subjective, and they think only of themselves and their angle. When I went to get each job, each one was better than the last. I assured each employer that I had no experience, but if I didn't do the job better than anyone in the world that they could possibly get their hands on, it would be mutually agreed that I leave. In other words, people are so afraid to hire you for fear they get stuck with you, and you won't work out. And then they you see, it's called a pre-agreement. If I don't do this better than anybody in the world, please, I'll be the first to want to go. And then they'll hire you and give you a chance.
So it really worked?
Worked on all my jobs, because each one I didn't have any experience for, and each was marvelous experience.
Yeah. Okay, and helped you, your first job, if I understand, was working on a newspaper.
True.
Selling advertising space, writing a column, giving household tips.
Well, actually, one was a shopping column, which means you sell the space and write the advertising. And then the other was a society column, where you go to parties and write up what the ladies wear and all that stuff. And then now and then I got to write a story, a real, honest-to-God newspaper story.
Yes, I think we have some parallels in our career, and gee, if I could become famous like Phyllis Diller. But my first job when I went back to work was selling advertising space for a column, writing kind of a gossipy column, not really gossip, but a social column, going to parties and stuff.
Same deal.
Gee, I wouldn't mind following in your footsteps. Okay. But actually, what you did from there, you went to work for an advertising agency.
That was one of them, and then a radio station, a couple of radio stations. And that was my 5-year career outside the home as a working housewife. And I always claim that those 2 words, working housewife, are the most redundant words in the world.
Yeah, okay, I agree. But how did you get the courage then, at 37, to do the kind of job that you do now, the kind of career, to be on stage, to go into show business? That takes a lot of guts.
Well, I had a lot of pressure. My husband, my then husband, insisted that I do it, and I had been sort of doing it as an amateur way around town, parties, organizations, and he felt that it was the beginning days of television, and he felt that I was as funny as what he was seeing on that brand new screen. And he not only urged me, he insisted that I become a comic. And then I had to think, well, how do you go about that? How do you do that? What do you do? Where do you go? And of course, the advice I give young people, you start right where you are and do it. And so I had an audition at a local Discovery Club in San Francisco. Of course, I happened to be in a very good spot, and I got the job.
Was that the Purple Onion, or was that
was the
before?
Purple
Okay, that was the
Onion.
Purple Onion. When you
Purple
say a local audition, you were supposed to be there for 2 weeks.
Yes.
You were there for 89 weeks.
I caught on.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's like instant. That was your first job, the first place to go to.
Yes, I was so different. And remember, I was the only female comic in the world. So that made me very different. I didn't realize this. I didn't realize any of this. All I realized was that I worked every day, worked hard, and tried to make my act better every night, every show. I worked and worked and worked. I cried a lot. And you aren't funny at first. You really aren't funny. And the humiliating thing is you have to learn everything about comedy in front of people, because you learn it all from the audience. So there they are watching you bomb. But you have to get through that to become good.
Yeah, well, was that difficult?
Of course, it was awful.
Yeah. Okay, when they don't laugh, how can you come back and try it again?
Well, that takes guts.
Yeah, right. Okay, and believing in yourself.
Oh, absolutely. That's the main thing.
Right, okay, and you do believe in yourself, and we're going to find out some of the other things that happened and why you believe in yourself, because there's a book that I understand played an important part in your life, and we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back right back. We're here at Resorts International Casino Hotel with Phyllis Diller. We'll be right back after these messages, so please don't go away. We're back with my very special guest, Phyllis Diller. We're here at Resorts International Casino Hotel in Atlantic City. Before we took the commercial break, I did make reference to a book that I understand changed your life. I happen to have a copy of the book here. It's called The Magic of Believing, and I would just like to read the quote that's on the front page of the book. Okay,
Yes.
by Phyllis Diller. It says, "The magic of believing changed my life. Read it and any problem can be solved, happiness can be achieved, great awards can be reaped." You really mean that?
Oh, I really mean that. Look at me. I have everything that I want out of life. And if I hadn't read that book, I don't know what I would be doing now.
Well, I just got the book last night, and you can be sure that I am going to read this book. But the person who you developed into, Phyllis Diller on stage, is really nothing like Phyllis Diller off stage.
That's true.
How did you develop the kind of personality that you have on stage?
Well, I did what I had to do to make it work, to be successful. And of course, that doesn't change you off stage. It's an acting job that I do on stage, and I do what commercially makes people laugh.
Okay, but everybody thinks that's the way you are. Did you base your material, because you wrote all your own material in the beginning, certainly,
yes.
Did you base it all on real life experiences?
No, in the very beginning, I had a director who helped me with the writing, and it wasn't what I'm doing now. It's when I got to my own writing that I really began to get my teeth into what I wanted to do. He was sort of theatrical. He had me doing parodies of current movies and current songs, and it was more theatrical. See, what I do is straight comedy.
Yeah.
And that's when I started getting into it myself and making my own direction. But I did, for many years, write all of my own material, and it was terribly different. And because I didn't know what I was doing, that's why it was different. And it was just totally different than anything anyone had ever heard. That's what got me marvelous positive attention.
Yeah, okay, it certainly worked. You mentioned Fang was a big part of your act.
Oh, he still is.
And still is. Okay, now you have said many times that you've been married twice. Fang is not a real person. Fang is not based on any one of your husbands, but using him in your act and people assuming it's your husband. Was that a problem? Were there hurt feelings at home?
No, of course not. You see, the reason they assumed that he was real was because at one time there were 3 stand-up comedies, and Toadie Fields, her husband, was right on stage, Georgie, and of course Joan Rivers talks about Edgar, and they're real. So that puts me in a position of having to say that Fang is not real, because I've been married twice to 2 different men. Now, if it were real, I would have had to have a divorce in my act. I don't want a divorce in my act, only in my life.
Okay.
Fang is permanent. He's I have a great deal invested in Fang because I have millions of dollars of material invested in dear old Fang.
Okay, Fang's been very good to you, unlike perhaps the real-life husband.
Well, they were all good to me. It's just that it didn't work out. You know, you outgrow people sometimes.
True. Your laugh has become your trademark.
That's true. That's just my natural, normal laugh.
Well, I heard in the beginning when you started laughing that some friends of yours said, "Look, Phyllis, give up that stupid laugh."
Yes. Well, you get a lot of really bum advice when you're down. See, when you are small and beginning and you haven't made it, everybody's smarter than you are, and they all want to tell you what to do and where to go, how to do it, and they're all wrong. All wrong. If they knew what to do, they'd be doing it.
But how did you know what to do?
Because I had read this book, and I listened to my own self. I mean, I knew what I was doing. After I read this book, I believed in myself. You see, if you believe in yourself, you don't follow every straw in the wind. People can't sway you. If you believe in yourself, you follow your own dream, your own path. Because you have to do that, especially when you're starting. Otherwise, people will just mess you all up because they have a tendency to be negative. I told my dearest friend that I was going to become a comic, and she told me to keep my day job.
Okay. And what has she said after you obviously didn't take her advice?
Well, I haven't seen her, but very seldom, because she's probably a very happy grandmother with 18 grandchildren and 7 kids.
Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's wonderful.
right.
But
Okay.
my life is mine, and I want
Absolutely.
to do what I want to do, and I have done what I wanted to do.
Okay, you've also changed Phyllis Diller a lot. Phyllis
yes.
Diller that started out, Phyllis Diller that combed her hair with an electric toothbrush. I mean, obviously your hair is beautifully groomed. I mean, you look terrific.
Well, it's not my hair.
It's not your hair. Okay, you mean you still comb your hair with an electric toothbrush?
Anything I can lay my... Sometimes a fork will work.
No, you're very well groomed now. I mean, you really have.
Well, in my private life, I like to look like a lady.
Yeah. Okay, and on stage, as you said, it's a whole
A
different
harridan.
method. Okay, well, you look different now, even I think in your private life, because you've been very open about the fact that you've had several facelifts.
2.
2. Okay, well, they both worked great. You look different. Do you feel different?
I feel better every day. I feel that I'm a better person every day because I work on myself every day.
Yeah. Gee, that's a good message.
Today I'm living on raw carrots. What are you doing?
Well, today, I haven't had anything to eat yet, but raw carrots are a
Terrific.
good idea. I'm on a diet. Is that what you're doing? Really?
Oh, I do
Why?
everything I can to improve myself.
Why?
I learn new words, I think new thoughts, and I eat raw carrots and try to stay skinny, try to be healthy, try to spread cheer and happiness, never talk negative, and never tell anyone they're not doing the right thing. I mind my own business, basically.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm a mother-in-law.
All right, well, I want to hear about Phyllis Diller about after this commercial break, because maybe that's a whole other view of you. You're also a grandmother.
I certainly am.
Okay, well, let's take this break and we'll come back and we'll talk some more. We're here at Resorts International Casino Hotel with Phyllis Diller, and we'll be right back with much more after these messages, so please don't go away. We're back with my very special guest, Phyllis Diller. We're here at Resorts International Casino Hotel in Atlantic City. And as I said before, I'm delighted that you can be my guest. And there are so many things that you have done. And now you mentioned a mother-in-law, grandmother, mother of 5.
That's the real fun.
Yeah. What's Phyllis Diller like as a mother-in-law? The mother-in-law jokes, I mean, would that be attributed to Phyllis Diller?
No, I stay strictly out of my children's affairs, their marital affairs.
Yeah.
I deal with them individually.
Yeah.
Still, I do that. I still feel that I mother my own children, but I stay out of their marital affairs. But it's fun to have grandchildren, and we have family get-togethers, and mainly we have competitions like golf and basketball, and we even have art competitions, ping pong competitions, and then and we love to get together and do that, and have picnicky type food.
Yeah, and you have a terrific house out here in California, big, beautiful house. Is it true that your house was haunted when you bought it?
Well, that is true, but it has never been haunted since one night I tried on all my wigs, and they left.
All right, now that's a joke, but was it really haunted? Because I believe that some
No,
houses,
that's a joke.
because
in fact, my press agent, that's one of his favorite jokes. He put it in there, and I'm living with it.
Okay, because it was in your press release.
I know. It's not true.
Okay.
I have a lovely house that had wonderful vibes in it when I got it. Lovely vibes. Some wonderful people had lived there all their lives, and they left happy vibes.
Yeah, good. Okay, all right. But because I hear that you give the rooms in your house names.
Yes, I do.
How do you name a room?
Well, there's one little John that I call Edith Head, and she approved of it. She thought it was darling. And then there's a little closet with a phone in it, and we call that John Wilkes Booth. And then we have the Bob Hope Salon, because there's a huge oil painting of my dear friend Bob Hope in it. And then there's the Antoine room that is, it looks like Antoine's New Orleans restaurant. And it's just that kind of a room. And they just, we have the Giuseppe Verdi room, because it's green, Joe Green. Verdi, you got it?
Yeah, got it, okay.
And then there's the pump room. There's a pump organ in it.
All right, and what, okay, well, in other words, every room has a name. How about Phyllis Diller's bedroom, where you spend your time?
Isn't it amazing? I've never given it a name.
Uh-huh.
The kitchen doesn't have a name, neither does the bedroom or the dining room. It's terrible.
Well, how about Phyllis Diller's bedroom?
You
You don't like that one, okay.
I know, that's so dull.
Yeah. Well, Phyllis Diller is far from dull, and Phyllis Diller has achieved a great deal. What was the best advice that you received?
Well, it wasn't advice. Advice is sometimes is so negative. I mean, people tell you don't try it and don't do it. You can't do it. The best thing I received was out of this book, The Magic of Believing by Claude Bristol. I read the book, and it's a system of thought, and it's something there's a system in this book that if you use it and you do it, it works. But most people just read the book and put it aside. I read it for 2 years. I underlined it, and then I leafed through it every day for 2 years, and firmly got this method in my head, and I did it. It's all done in the head, you know. The mind controls
Absolutely
everything. Yeah.
Did you ever meet the author of the book?
He was dead when I found the book.
Well, certainly, you know, you have given new life to the book. The book has been reprinted many times since
Yes.
you started
I've kept that book alive for 30 years. There are many good self-help books on the market, and they come out constantly, and they're all good, but this is the one that did it for me.
Yeah, okay, now you've written 5 books.
Yes, true.
Okay, your own books.
But mine are non-books. They're the kind you
Which
give
are-
to Aunt Hattie when she has her appendix out.
Okay, because they're fun, and
They're
I've read
funny.
one of them. But how about Phyllis Diller's autobiography? We just have a minute left, but would you write your autobiography from a serious point of view?
I guess I would.
And if so, what is the message that you'd like to convey?
I think my message would be mostly inspirational for women, so to tell them that it's never too late and that they can do it on their own and they don't have to be timid. I majored in timidity, and you can get well and cure yourself of being afraid.
Okay, well, you certainly have cured yourself, and you certainly, send out good messages. I'd really love to see the book. Is it going to come out? Are you going to do your autobiography?
Well, I'm not sure the time is right. Timing is everything, you know, Arlene. I'm just not sure the time is right. I think that I have to really believe in it to make it work.
Yeah, well, I believe in you, and I'm going to read the book, The Magic of Believing.
Terrific.
And you've been an inspiration to me, and I thank you very much for being a guest on my show.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope that you have enjoyed getting to know Phyllis Diller. I know that I certainly have, and that you'll join us again next week. Meantime, good night. It's been a pleasure getting to know you.